Hi, everybody who is here with us now as we're recording and who's viewing this later. We are so glad to welcome you to the Universal Language Room, which we're calling Conversations Through Sound. And I have to say, Jason, for this one, timing is everything. With our world, things are feeling super intense and super heavy. And our guest today is arriving at the right time, right? To bring a little light to our world, to shine a little positivity. I think that's all what we need. So we are super excited to welcome Lory Warren from the Prohuman Foundation. Thank you, Lory, for joining us. It is a pleasure to have you here.
Thank you. I am so delighted to be here.
Yay. Okay, so we're going to chat with Lori about Prohuman and how it was founded and what its goals are. And then Jason, you're going to sprinkle in a little bit too about how you are associated with the organization, bring it back to some dialogue and some music. We desperately need open dialogue right now. So before we dive in, Jason, would you share Lori's pretty impressive bio with the rest of us?
Sure, we're very happy to have you, Lori. I've been involved with Prohuman and an iteration before for several years now, and this is the right time to talk about the importance of dialogue and the importance of the Prohuman Foundation, which has been pushing this message and developing it for many years, and it needs to be amplified. Biography for Lori Warren brings a range of professional experience to her role as executive director at the Prohuman Foundation. She has an extensive background in healthcare, including nursing and hospital administration, network development and school health services in the nonprofit sector. Lori has experience in volunteer recruitment and management, and most recently served as chief operating officer at an organization that supported educational initiatives and civil rights. There's more and more and more. She loves and lives in Florida. And with her family, enjoys running, kayaking, swimming, skiing, and anything outdoors. Prohumanfoundation.org for more information. But today, in dialogue with us to raise the profile of this incredible organization, Prohuman Foundation, please welcome Lori Warren.
Thank you,
Yay.
Jason. Thank you for that very nice introduction. One thing I will point out, Shoshana,
Please.
is that Jason was the very first person we asked to join our advisory board at the Prohuman Foundation. So when we launched just a couple years ago, actually before it even launched, honestly, the first person I called was Jason and asked him if he would be involved.
That was definitely a good call. That was
Mhm.
quite wise. So we're going to talk to Jason a little bit about his advisory role with ProHuman. So I'm glad that you shared, some little context for us as we get going here. I didn't realize though that it was even before y'all had even kicked things off. That's kind of amazing.
Mhm.
Yay. Okay, so Lori, give us some background. Tell us what ProHuman Foundation is. Share with us some of the origins, why it was founded, that kind of stuff.
Sure. Well, what if I tell you first a little bit about what we mean by prohuman?
Please.
So, what prohuman means to me is it's very much about hope and harmony over fear and discord. It's very much about what we are for versus what we are against. And I think it's hard for me to talk about ProHuman and the ProHuman Foundation without telling you about our co-founder and global ambassador, Daryl Davis. And so Daryl, if you're not familiar with his story, Daryl is he's a remarkable man. He's a Black jazz and blues musician. He's very legendary in the work that he does. He was the musician for Chuck Berry for the piano player for Chuck Berry for many, many years. You name a collaboration out there, he's done it. He's played for presidents. He is a very remarkable musician, author, lecturer, um, and an activist as well. And that's what he does for his day job. And what he also does is he has a very unique hobby. Daryl is known for it's out of a sense of curiosity for why people would hate him simply because of his skin color. For decades now, he has reached out to members of the KKK and other extremist groups, and through dialogue, through understanding, through seeing people as complete human beings and more than just their ideas or ideology, he has opened the door to hundreds of KKK members and other extremists to leave their extremist ways. And even to the extent that he has walked the daughter of a former Grand Master of the KKK down the aisle at her wedding. It's really amazing what he has done.
Yeah, he's remarkable. If I could just jump in for a second, and I'm sure we'll touch on this a little bit more, but he was here a couple years ago at Jason's request, and we had done this really interesting panel, and I was just blown away by his sincerity and genius and his approach to this important dialogue and how effective he's been. So I'm looking forward to, we'll chat about him some more later on too, but I'm so glad you shared that.
Yeah, for sure. Um, so at the Prohuman Foundation, Daryl's work with extremist groups is not our work. That's not what we do. In fact, he would advise most people to not work directly with extremist groups because it can be dangerous. But what we have done is we have taken we've taken the Daryl Davis approach, what we like to call the Daryl Davis approach, and we have distilled it down to a set of core values. So what that looks like is a set of ideas around strong individuals, strong relationships, and a harmonious society. So strong individuals who exhibit the characteristics of gratitude, optimism, and grit, courage, compassion, curiosity, and fairness, understanding, and humanity. And we have taken those characteristics, we've boiled them down to what we call the prohuman approach, because we think that if Daryl can apply those principles and those characteristics in the most extreme cases, surely all of us can apply those principles in our own lives with our families, with our neighbors, in our communities, in our faith communities, in our workplaces. And so that's what the prohuman approach is all about.
So I'm connected. I'm loving these words that you're describing that are pulling us into what this organization stands for. So what did it mean personally for you to get involved with Prohuman? What was sort of the impetus for that for you?
Sure. Well, I first got involved with the Prohuman mission about 5 years ago. At the time, I had moved from Colorado to Minnesota. It was literally on the weekend of the week of the George Floyd incident. And we had just moved to the Twin Cities, and there were curfews, and the stores were boarded up, and I just felt at that time, as I think many people did, that we were experiencing just a seismic shift. And I noticed I noticed so obviously that people were not talking to each other, they were talking at each other. And it was so amplified at that point in time. And so I just started, honestly, just researching and reading and reading and researching and just trying to figure out what is going on in our world. And then I got connected to a man by the name of Brian Barkning, who was working on some initiatives to address these issues, and I began just volunteering and helping out, and one thing led to another, and we've been focusing on this work now together for a few years, and Daryl has been involved in that with us from the very beginning as well.
It's such an amazing organization to be a part of, something you can really be proud of and model for your children and your friends and family. It's quite amazing. Jason, share a little bit about your connection with Prohuman, and then how you think it sort of falls back in line with Universal Language Room in general.
Yeah, thanks, Shoshana. And that was a wonderful intro by Lory. In fact, I had a friend, Stuart Schwartzbart, I don't want to say his name, because he wrote to me and he said, remember the guy Daryl Davis who you really like listening to, and you understand his work with the KKK and you love his dialogue approach? Well, he has this group that he's formed. So maybe just write to them, like just write to them out of the blue. He's like, why not? So I wrote to them and I explained the Universal Language Project. They said, it's really great. And I said, is there any way we can bring Daryl down? And I started working with Lory to bring Daryl down to Memphis. So I picked him up at the airport and we worked at the University of Memphis. We had this really great show. Shoshana, you were there. You're amazing with Felicia Pete and the board of the Bridge Institute. And I really loved going out to get food with Daryl and just talk about Chuck Berry and meeting all the guitar heroes and sitting in with like Keith Richards or something. And he's like, yeah, I did this, yeah, I did that. It was just like kind of a walk in the park. But sitting with him, you could get the idea that when people say the power of dialogue, that there is a romantic vision of the power of dialogue. When you sit with him, you can really see it. And I think that's really important why he's the centerpiece of the organization. And so I really just wanted to stay in touch with a person who can sit and talk and just bring out the best in people. He's got the track record to do, but when you sit with him, you really see how he does it. So that's how I got involved. And then, as Lory mentioned, they were starting to put together fill out the Prohuman Foundation, and they gave me that first call. I was really quite honored. And I just want to conclude my thoughts here by saying that I do a music project, and it's extremely abstract, and it gets great results for being abstract. But the concretization and the putting it into words and education and think tank, that's really where the Prohuman Foundation has added so much to my life. Because if people say, what does Universal Language Room really do? I was like, well, let me turn it over to this website and these folks. And it's really great to have that collaboration because I'm more interested in playing the music than writing about it. And they're very interested in writing and putting out books. So that's where I think they are so critical in their work.
Amazing. Lory, from your perspective, especially with Daryl being such this amazing musician and all his experience, what role would you say music plays in Prohuman, from that perspective?
Mhm. Well, it's interesting. We do draw on musical concepts in how we describe our mission and our vision. Our vision is for a harmonious society that uplifts the dignity of all people and their rights, that promotes the foundational truth that every person is a unique individual united by their shared humanity. And so, I was actually just looking up the what the opposite of harmony is, and so I will share that with you right now.
I love this. Geek
After,
out.
after
You're
I
a nerd.
after I
Let's
put on
go.
my reading glasses, the opposite of harmony is dissonance, right? Attention or clash resulting from the combination of two disharmonious or unsuitable elements. And in music, and Jason, you know this, sometimes there's purpose in dissonance, but what you eventually try to get to is a resolution of that, and harmony and harmony of all of the notes and voices and instruments working together. And so if you were to draw a parallel between a choir or a band, that's how we ultimately hope to see this world that we live in.
Jason, this is reminding me a lot of when you do a live session and you've got all these different people who range in different ages and they've got instruments that nobody is technically trained in how to play, yet we're all able to communicate together in this beautiful, harmonious way, right?
Yeah, I think that I was looking for a way to, again, express what I saw in music with a think tank. And they're working on an educational level, they're working on a think tank level, they're working on a book level and book release. I met Seth Kaplan, one of the advisors. I'll get into how much the advisory board has enriched my life. But essentially, there is a problem with working with idealistic people that it kind of stays in the clouds. And what Prohuman does is it really brings it to the street and to the classroom and to the computers. And so I think that the main thing I want to say at this point is that it's so important where you begin, how you begin any project. And there's so many groups out there that want to divide us into gender and nationality and color, and then they think that's going to help address the problems of the past. I don't agree with that. And I love that Prohuman says, be pro-human. You can't go wrong. There's no anti there. So you're going to be pro-human, you're going to be pro-human. You're going to look at people's individual ideas and give them a chance to not speak as a Jewish person, just to speak as a person. And I love the acceptance, and it's a unique concept um, that maybe should have been common, but there was a need, and Bayan, Lori, and Daryl, and I'm sure other executive members addressed that need by creating this group.
Amazing. So let's talk a little bit about that education, because it's not just about like-minded people. And I'm so sorry if you can hear my lawn person nearby up on my microphone. Okay, good. It sounds really loud in here. Sorry. So Lori, the education that y'all provide, I was saying it's lovely for like-minded people to get together and to brainstorm, but you guys are actually implementing, and there are book launches and there is curriculum. Can you talk about that educational aspect for us?
Sure. So everything we do at the Prohuman Foundation is centered around the core values that I talked about, but also everything that we do falls under the umbrella of education. And we have we so we're really focused on practical solutions to complex problems. And so we operate in the K-12 space. We also have adult learning and leadership opportunities. So really, we're not just K through 12. We like to think that we're K through 80. But I will gladly tell you about our Prohuman curriculum. We just launched it a couple of months ago. Honestly, it's the realization of a vision that began years ago. And so we're absolutely thrilled about it. Right now, we have the materials for grades K through 8 completed and online and ready for download. We're working on grades 9 through 12. The Prohuman curriculum is essentially an ELA curriculum, English Language Arts. But it's designed to be used for in character education, and can also be incorporated into an SEL curriculum. And we focus on virtuous exemplars. Now that's a very proven evidence-based approach to teaching character education. And so we draw on sort of lesser known historical figures and people from fiction and nonfiction who exemplify the pro-human core values. Our curriculum developer is a woman by the name of Christina LaRose. She's been absolutely just extraordinary in developing this beautiful curriculum. And she brings, she's very well qualified. She has her PhD in English literature. She was a classroom teacher for many, many years, has taught on the college level as well. And so she brings just a wonderful set of skills in the development of these materials. And the curriculum is designed for public schools, private schools, religious schools, homeschools. That was probably one of our top use cases. It is a free resource. That was very, very important to us. So this is a high quality curriculum that is available to people at no charge.
Do they go to your website to download all the materials? Okay, so we'll make sure. Tell us what that website is again, and then we're going to make sure at the end of this that we share it for a final time.
Wonderful. It's prohumanfoundation.org. And across the tabs at the top, they can go to curriculum, and right there on the right. And yep. There it is, learning character through literature.
This is phenomenal.
And all of the lessons are available for free. And one thing that I'll point out is that, as I mentioned, we have 9 core character strengths. And coincidentally, there are 9 months in the academic year. And so we take a thematic approach as well. And every month focuses on one particular character strength. And so educators can incorporate the entire curriculum into their lesson planning, or because it's very modular and it's very easy to navigate and very well organized, if they just want to download one lesson and that's it, that's okay. They can do that too. So it's very flexible for however educators want to use it.
What is the feedback that you're hearing from educators in different educational institutions?
Well, so far so good. I think I think people appreciate that this is it's not political, it's not politicized. It is just um, good, high quality instruction and super inspiring stories about amazing people, historical, contemporary figures as well. And so I'm very encouraged. So I get a little notification when there's a new download of the curriculum, and we've been getting more and more downloads every single day. And so that's been exciting and very encouraging.
That is super exciting. Hopefully, this broadcast will get some more of those because, if anything, we just want to like expand this even further, reaching more people who
I
can
hope
just,
so.
right, share this message back. Jason, tell us what it means to you to be involved and what your work's been like as an advisor.
So I've really loved the advisor concept. It's not really a board position, as more as an advisor. And I've reached out to people who showed up on the website, which was a Seth Kaplan. I'll get the title completely right. Lori will help me, but it's Fragile Neighborhoods. He was talking about how important it is for individuals to be in their neighborhood. And sometimes when there's different programs to help individuals get out of poverty, those people kind of leave the neighborhood and then they become a star somewhere. So he really wanted to not build individuals up, but build neighborhoods. And I met him through advisor relationship. And there have been about 5, 6 calls with people, and then we talk, we exchange ideas, talk about podcasting, interviewing each other. Wilk Wilkinson, I don't know if I came directly to him through Prohuman Foundation, but I'm pretty sure I did, and I was on his podcast. And you get more inspired by meeting these people who are doing the activity. There is a thing where maybe if you post on social media and you put a sign out on your lawn, I don't know. I would rather see people really meeting, talking, getting things done, talking about their books, sharing ideas. And sometimes our technology makes us think we're doing something. And so I think when you join these boards and you get involved with these groups, and even I would say really for any listener that's listening, it doesn't take a board position to get involved with the Prohuman Foundation. You can get involved right to the organization. Someone will write back and say, here's how you can help out. It doesn't have to be so official. And it shouldn't be. So I've really enjoyed meeting all the advisors and then introducing other people. Their Peer Mudassar Shah is an imam in Pakistan, and I was working with him, and he was just so dedicated to human flourishing. And I said, would you like to get involved with this group or just talk to them? And he was so happy he got involved with the board right away. So I've been able to make some introductions. It's really enriched my life. And again, I think one of the key things I want for this interview session is that everybody really feels the comfort to reach out to Prohuman. And you see that the thing is not about the money and the charges to get the curriculum out. They want to get it out. They want to get the message out. And it's a very welcoming group.
Okay, Lori, can you share with us? I like what we've heard so far that this is like-minded, noble people in this organization. You've got this amazing curriculum that people are actually downloading and they're using it, and we're talking more about it. Share with us some real-world examples about how this is really having an impact, especially in these very heated, polarized, intense times that we're living in.
Mhm. Well, we uh, in a pretty short period of time, we've really been able to do a lot, and I'm very proud of that. And so one of our programs is the Prohuman Ambassador Program. And that is it's a fellowship program for professionals. It's a leadership program, and just this month we are graduating our first cohort. Um, and and so we'll be we were just thrilled that we started it, and just these really extraordinary people participated in the program, and the first and it's been a year-long program, and we're just now graduating the first group, and that's really how you build things, right? And so now we have our first group of Prohuman ambassadors who will take these ideas, and the idea is that they will employ the Prohuman approach in their own circles of influence, at in their communities, in their workplaces, in their faith communities. And so it's exciting to see that come to fruition. We've also been really blessed, really fortunate to have so many wonderful partners through our advisory board, also through partner organizations such as the Listen First Coalition and Braver Angels. And we're very fortunate to have the opportunity to collaborate with those groups on events and initiatives. And it's nice to see just the collaborative nature there and um, getting the good stuff out there, because the you know the the bad stuff is very noisy right now. And so
Right.
we,
And the way
yeah,
to combat the dark is with the light.
absolutely.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
well said.
Thank you. Jason, I think I could share several things about how I would think that working with Prohuman has positively affected Universal Language Room, but I want you to tell us.
Well, I've always wanted to have a framework, Shoshana, of speaking to people if they ask me, what's the application of universal language? So where Prohuman has enhanced my life, and I would say this to other artists or musicians or dance or anybody else who's out there trying to build community, is to look at Prohuman Foundation and look at the language of building those bridges and using a pro-human approach. I think a lot of people are very sincere, but they start using like identity politics and, we are this group and you are that group, and it just falls apart. And I think we just have enough data to see that. So the alternative and what's really more core is the pro-human approach about looking at people as individuals and looking at building that harmony. So it's not that I really get into that so much with the music, but I will certainly speak to it when I talk about the benefits of universal language room and playing music, because I've always felt, well, we've had this great music experience. How do we apply it? And we've had some good success applying it at a university or so forth. But I think when I can direct people to my partner and the advisory board of the Prohuman Foundation, it's such a great introduction to a great think tank. So that's where it's really enriched my universal language program, is it gives me a way to say, we've had this experience. How would you use it tomorrow? And that's Prohuman Foundation.
Amazing. Okay, so it's crazy, Lori, to me that we are already halfway through September, which means we are very close to being done with 2025. It's like the time flies. Talk to us a little bit about what y'all are envisioning for the rest of the year and then going into 2026, plans that you have that are still going to be working on. What big dreams is
Yeah.
Prohuman looking at?
hmm You asked that question at the perfect time. As I mentioned, we are still a relatively young organization. We're 2 years in, and we've done a lot in a very short period of time. And right now, what we're focusing on is what things are going to look like in the next 3 to 5 years. And so we're really putting a lot of thought and work into a planning process. And what 2026 is going to look like is that we will be taking what we've started and growing it bigger. And so, as I mentioned, we just finished our first cohort of the Prohuman Ambassador Program. We will be offering a new set of ambassador program or programs in 2026. This was kind of the pilot program, and we're looking at doing ambassador programs that are oriented either with a geographic focus or with a specialization in terms of in terms of people's professions. We'll also be so that's the ambassador program. We're very excited about growing that and offering new opportunities. We'll also be releasing the high school grades of the Prohuman curriculum. So grades 9 through 12 will be made available in 2026 as well. And we also have a lot of experience in offering workplace training. And so in 2026, we'll be kind of re-releasing opportunities to do that as well. We've done that in the past. We've had a lot of success with it, and we're excited to be able to make those opportunities available again. So as I mentioned, we are all about practical solutions to complex problems. And it's one thing to have good ideas and to to talk about things, and you should, but it's a whole different thing to build things and create things and really put solutions out there. And that's what we're very focused on.
Right. So I think you're going to be super busy for the foreseeable future because you've got some amazing plans in the pipeline, and it's just a matter of getting them all implemented, executed, getting the right people involved, right, to really bring out some positivity.
Mhm.
It sounds amazing. I want to ask you both this question as we sort of start to wrap up our conversation here. As we've mentioned, kind of a dark time. So I want to hear from both of y'all some words of optimism, some light that we can bring in to the dark times right now, something inspiring that can carry on from here that other people need to be hearing right now. Laura, you want to go?
Yeah. I would say that the events of the last several days have weighed very, very heavily on me, as I know on so many other people. The assassination of Charlie Kirk was so it was so surprising. It was just it just really was such a gut punch that someone was murdered because of his ideas and for speaking out. And so it's been such a difficult time because of that. And I also want to mention that uh, when I moved from Colorado to Minnesota, I mentioned that earlier in the podcast, and uh, where I moved from was Evergreen, Colorado. And we had moved from there in 2020. Um, that's where the school shooting was last week. It is a very small town. It's the most beautiful little mountain town you can possibly imagine. It's a very tight knit community. And so when that hit the national news, it was just devastating. So those have been some very, very sad events. But what gives me hope is that is that people have really come together in these very dark times. And just on just yesterday, I when we went to church, the we started out at the beginning of the service singing "America the Beautiful," and uh, the the sermon was it sounded absolutely like something that could have come out of the Prohuman playbook. It was very much focused on unity and about healing the country, and uh, and and I just looked around at the people who were there, and and I was just reminded that real people are really good, and so it's just so the thing that gives me hope is just the people around us who are really good people and doing good things, and are just good humans. And so that's what gives me hope.
Nice. That's what I say about my kids, that I'm raising good humans. So I totally relate. And it is reassuring that there are people out there who really want what's good for everybody. Jason.
Yeah, I mean, I listen to a whole different group of political thinkers. I don't really look at the news. I read periodicals and I watch videos. And I watched a lot of Charlie Kirk videos, and he would just talk to people and challenge them and challenge himself. And two things that really shocked me was the assassination, and then the other thing that shocked me, I think, is equally was the response, the heartless response. And then I thought, we're really in trouble. And I'm just telling you honestly, I just thought we're really in trouble. People said, well, you had these thoughts about gun control. And I just said, you've lost your moral decency to say that. And I'm just telling you right now, you've lost your decency to say, he was a white supremacist, just awful things people said. And I did the following. I did this exercise with people who wrote that. I said, what's the support for what you're saying? I want to know. Why do you say that about him? And they couldn't put up the support. And so that's what really shocked me. They did it almost like I kind of heard this about him. And we've really lost basic decency. And so I want to state that as the problem, because if you're going to really accuse somebody of being something right after they're assassinated, you better have a mound of evidence. You better have mountains of evidence. and they didn't have it. And so I've been very kind of sideways the past couple days, about this whole thing. And the guy was only 31, He was like, I grew up in Richmond, Virginia. Could have been any of the kids I grew up with. Just, like somebody's talking and thinking. And he definitely said things that were a little bit on the crass side about issues. And I was thinking, he probably said that when he was in his 20s, people. He was in his 20s. So that's the challenge. The thing that gives me hope is that he did it in the first place. And that's what I hold on to, and you can't sit around in the dark worried about how bad humanity is when someone that young at 18 didn't go to college to save this country. So I think if he could say something else, he would just say keep going, you know. And that's what I think. I think when you see tragedies like this, you think about that person and what would they say to you? They would say, finish what I started, you know? So it's not so much that I'm so involved with any Charlie Kirk organizations and I'm aware of Turning Point, but the way that I would continue working on what I felt that he was trying to do is Prohuman Foundation, in the Universal Language Room. And there are a lot of great, great people out there. And they do have, I think, I wouldn't use the word solutions, but approaches that are much better than what are done today. And I think that what we really need to hold on to is people do not know how to disagree. And one of the most beautiful things about being Jewish is we practice disagreeing all the time. And we've been doing it for 2,000 years. And it does keep us together because people disagree and there's two Jews and three opinions, and I would say 30 opinions in my experience. But we know how to disagree. And I mean, not every community is always so frictionless, but we know how to say, you know what, I just don't agree with you for the following reasons. And we don't label people. And that's what's really gone wrong is we label people X, Y, Z, and you dehumanize people and you other them when you think you're trying to stand for some ideal. Wrong. Pro-human foundation is that someone is a human and you disagree with them and you say, here's the framework for why we've disagreed. Here's how I approach it. And Prohuman's really explaining that to people through education. And it's the bedrock of Western civilization. Somehow it ran off the tracks. And we got to stop it from running off the tracks any further. So that's what gives me hope. And I will share one uplifting story. Daryl Davis came to Memphis, and we played a show with him. We talked about Prohuman, we talked about universal language, but then we played a show together. And he says, we're playing this blues song. He says, keep playing, Jason, keep soloing. I was like, okay, great. And then I looked over and he wasn't at the piano anymore. I was like, where did he go? Well, he was behind me and he came up and started playing guitar on my guitar while I was playing guitar. So I was strumming, he was playing guitar. So it was this black left hand and the right hand, the black left hand were playing together. And I was like, this is America. His left hand was playing this side, my right hand was playing this side. Who cares what our skin color was, you know? And I think that's what he was trying to say to me and to the audience. And it was so much fun. It was one of those just most uplifting moments, together playing the same guitar together, and we were cracking up, and that was the right visual for me, and that's the kind of things I hold on to.
I don't want to steal your thunder because that was such a super special moment. Everybody else was enjoying it, I think, just as much as you were, just from a different perspective. And it was so fun to see y'all and the whole band jam out together after such a really meaningful conversation that we had had on the stage. It was fantastic. It's what everything pro-human stands for. That was summed up in that moment. Yeah,
Absolutely.
it was beautiful. Lori, we're going to wrap up. Do you have any final thoughts that you wanted to share before we share the website again and remind everybody where they can get all the helpful information? Parting thoughts.
Well, I just want to remind everyone to be pro-human. I want to thank you, Jason, for the extraordinary work that you do. It's just such an honor to be in this with you. And I'm just so grateful to have had the opportunity to talk to you tonight. This has been a lot of fun.
Yay, for us too. Like I said from the beginning, it just really feels like it's the exact right moment, and we didn't even plan all the things this far in advance. So we were so grateful that you were able to join us and uplift us, and really just enhance our positivity right now. It's what everybody needs at the moment, even just a little bit helps. You guys have a ton of resources. There are so many ways that people can get involved who are watching this. You've got the curriculum, you've got the ambassador programs. The website, one more time, Lori, for us, please.
The website is prohumanfoundation.org, and we have lots of ways people can get involved. They can join our book club, which meets on a monthly basis. Please follow us on social media, sign up to get our Substack. We have a beautiful publication that comes out every week. And consider getting involved with the ambassador program. And if you're an educator, please check out our educational materials.
Amazing. So much good there. Jason, wrap us up.
Yeah, I want to thank you, Shoshana. You've been just the best host. We've been doing this for about 4 years with jazz artists and spiritual people and academics. Now we're really getting into what I think is a big, good shift for us, which is what are people doing on the ground? And Lory
Agreed.
Warren just exemplifies that as executive director of the Prohuman Foundation. This beautiful website, this beautiful message. I think more than ever, people need to channel their psychic and physical energy into a group like this, or something similar. But I really recommend Prohuman. And just, a book club or read the Substack. There's so many things you can click on very quickly here to get to the message, to get to the purpose. I had Daryl Davis up. Yeah, there's Daryl, Bion, and it's Letitia, right? Letitia Kim? Yep.
Letitia Kim, yep, she's
Yep.
our other co-founder.
Yep. And then there's the team. And then Lory, I think you're over here. And it's just a great team, a great group of people to get involved with. And then the advisory board is great. I also want to mention a friend of mine, Seth Chalmer, is one of the ambassadors on the ambassador program. So it became a very small world when he got involved. And it's just a fantastic group. So we've done a very good job with our podcast of Beta Abalafi. We're switching this part to the Universal Language Room and Conversations Through Sound. And we're making a good shift to interview people that are doing something on the ground with results. I'm going to shift gears a little bit and just show our website with the Universal Language Room, ulr1.com, for people to see more of the interviews that we are going to put up here. And Lory will be the first one here on our new interview dropdown. So thank you very much, Lory, for joining us. And again, I just can't emphasize enough how thankful I am that family and friends came to listen tonight. I see my mom and dad and Abram, Gabriel, and Franco. Thank you for coming. And all of our friends and listeners that come on Facebook and will be on YouTube. But I think I'll give last thoughts to Shoshana and Lory to wrap us up, really. And I just want to say I'm just very thankful to be part of Prohuman and part of this dialogue tonight.
Sure. Thank you. This is always wonderful. I always learn things. We have incredible guests like Lory on. It is such a privilege to be involved. So I would say let's just remember to be kind to each other. And hopefully that'll guide us. Lory?
Yeah, I'll echo that. Remember unique identity and shared humanity, and be pro-human.
Love it. Amazing. Lory, thank you so much. It's been a pleasure. This has been wonderful. Jason, thank you. Until next time.